Good morning. Lecture 1, Class 7, Subject English, Textbook Honeycomb, and we are going to do a very interesting poem today. The name of the poem is Mystery of the Talking Fan. Children, have you ever talked to a non-living thing? Have you ever admired that non-living thing? Have you just sit back at your sofa set and have you ever talked to the talking fan which is there in this on your ceiling? Have you ever worked or thought what does the fan think? I know you people have not even given a thought to it. But today, in this poem, the poet is forcing us to talk to a talking fan. So now stop looking above your head to the ceiling where your fan is there. Let's get into the poem. In this video, we learn insight of the poem. What is the poet trying to tell us through the poem? That's the insight of the poem. Of course, we are going to learn new words, meaning of the stanza. The poem's very short, so you will understand the meaning of the stanza also very quickly. And of course, summary of the poem, homework, and then conceptual questions will be discussed. So now let's quickly move into that without wasting any time. Introduction. Is there a ceiling fan in the room where you are sitting now? Is there a fan? Of course, every room has a fan. Is the fan quiet or noisy? The fan in my room, in my bedroom, is very quiet, and the fan which is there in my lobby, that is drawing room, is very, very noisy. So, can you all tell me, is the fan in your house or in your room in which you are sitting is quiet or noisy? If it's noisy, you may be sure it is a distant relative of the talking fan in the poem, which you are going to read. And if it is noisy, you may be sure it is a distant relative of the talking fan. So basically, if it is noisy, then you can relate yourself to the poet very nicely, because even the fan which the poet is talking about is also very noisy. So now let's move further. Yes, children. Now coming to this personification, it's a figure of speech. Okay, one by one we'll be doing figure of speech. Basically, these figures of speech are there in the poems only. In this poem, The Mystery of the Talking Fan, we are going to come across one of such figures of tool, or you can say figures of speech, that are common literary tool. This type of tool which we are going to come across in the poem is personification. Okay, so now let's understand what is personification. Personification is a type of metaphor and a common literary tool. It is when you assign the qualities of a person to something that isn't human or that isn't even alive, such as nature or household items. Now they're talking here the mystery of the talking fan. Talking fan. Come on, children. Fan is a non-living thing. Basically, what do we mean by personification is that when we give a non-living things the quality of a person. Of course, a person can be smart, but sometimes we say that the watch is very smart. Watch is a non-living thing, but we are giving it a quality of a person. So here are some examples. Let's read them together. Personification, more example. The car danced across the icy road. Have you ever imagined a car dancing? No, but you're applying this personification, right? This is personification, and car is a non-living thing. Next example, the angry clouds marched across the sky. Angry, this is an attribute of a human being, angry. Human beings get angry, isn't it? And clouds are a non-living thing. They are a part of nature. But we are adding angry with that. So this is personification. We are giving non-living thing a attribute of living thing. Next one. The stars in the clear night sky winked at me. Winked at me means blinked at you, means their eyes were shut. So the stars in the clear, star is a non-living thing. It's not a human attribute, but we are giving it a quality of a person. Next one. The tulips nodded their heads in the breeze. Only we as human beings can nod our head. We can show all the emotions that we feel, isn't it? But when we give non-living things the attribute of a living thing, it is known as personification. One more example I have here. The leaves danced their way through the lawn. Okay, so the leaves danced. Normally the leaves can't dance because they are non-living thing, but we are giving it an attribute, or we are giving them a quality of a person, right? So that is personification. Have you all understood? Okay, now let's move further. Finally, we have come to the poem, The Mystery of the Talking Fan by Maud Rubin. Now let's see what the poet has to say. Once there was a talking fan. Once who was there? Once there was a talking fan. Electrical his chatter. Electrical his chatter means as soon as you used to switch, the poet used to switch on, it used to chatter. Chatter means make noise. Okay. I could not quite hear what he said, and while the fan was moving, it was making that chatter sound. The poet is saying that he could not hear what he said. He could not understand what the fan was trying to tell him. Next. And I hope it doesn't matter. And the poet is saying that even if I could not hear it, I don't think so the fan should feel bad about it. It should not matter to the fan. Next. Because one day somebody oiled his little whirling motor. Now, as he was talking to him, yes, but the poet couldn't understand his chatter. And one day what happened? Somebody came and they oiled the motor. Okay, do you know it's a non-living object? The electronic gadgets, they work on motor. Yes, so they have their motor fitted inside it. If the motor screw gets loosened up, then only it starts to make noise. So here the poet is saying because one day somebody oiled his little whirling motor and all the mystery was spoiled. Now see, the poet was so heartbroken. He wanted to understand what the fan was trying to tell him. But what happened one day? Somebody came and they oiled the whirling motor and all the mystery was spoiled. He ran as still as water. Okay, and then he ran as still as water. So basically he wanted to discover what the fan was trying to tell him, what the fan was trying to chatter with him. But then one day what happened? There came a man and he spoiled all the fun and he spoiled all the mystery that the poet was about to find regarding the mystery of the talking fan. Okay, so that's the poem. So this is the summary which we need to understand. Okay. The poem beautifully captures the movement of the much familiar and mundane objects around us. Mundane means non-living objects around us, which in today's time are a very essential part of our existence. Can we live without a fan? Of course not. So they are very essential part of our existence. Next, the poem discusses the movement of a ceiling fan. The poem discusses the movement of a ceiling fan. The poet discusses the sound made by the ceiling fan, comparing it to human chatter. Human chatter, people talk, that is human chatter. Okay, so the poet is comparing the ceiling fan with the human chatter. Though unknown and incomprehensible, the lines have been taken from Maud Rubin's poem Mystery of the Talking Fan. In these lines, the poet closely observes the movement of the ceiling fan, calling its noise chatter. The noise that the fan makes, he is referring it with a chatter. Chatter means the sound that humans make. Now, the explanation. The poem opens with the personification of the fan. I told you personification, it has been given human attributes such as ability to talk and chatter. Okay, the fan is being compared to a human being. Human beings chatter the same way. Fan is also chattering by his noise, being given human attributes such as the ability to talk and chatter. The poet calls the fan's noise an electrical chatter. The poet is unable to comprehend what exactly it means, and before the poet could succeed in decoding the mystery, somebody oiled its motor. Ever since, it functioned in such a smooth manner that no noise could be heard. The talking fan fell silent. So basically in this poem, the poet is giving the fan human attributes, that is personification. The way humans talk, they chatter, he's assuming that the fan is also chattering, he's also talking by making those sounds. That's all about the poem. Okay. New words. Chatter, meaningless talks, which human beings tend to do. Meaningless talks. Whirling motor, rotating motor. Spoiled, destroyed. Still as water. The fan was now still as water, means that was quiet as water. Now there's a small homework for you all. You have to do these question answers working with the poem. First, fans don't talk. Yes, of course, we know they are non-living things and they don't talk. But it is possible to imagine that they do. We can imagine anything, so same way. But it is possible to imagine that they do. What is it then that sounds like the fans chatter? Okay. Next, question number B, that is complete the following sentences. So you have to complete these following sentences. The chatter is electrical because a blank. Then second one, it is mysterious because dash. So you have to complete the following sentences. Coming to the C1, what do you think the talking fan was demanding? Okay, what was the fan demanding? D1, how does an electrical fan manage to throw so much air when it is switched on? Okay. Next, E1, is there a talking fan in your house? Create a dialogue between the fan and a mechanic. So you have to create a dialogue between the fan and a mechanic. That's the homework for you all. Kindly do the homework in your fair notebook and the work should be neat. Is that clear? Yes. Thank you. Have a nice day. You have to do these working with the text question answers in your fair notebook. It is there in your textbook also, Honeycomb, on page number 97. If you want, you can take the reference of the poem from your textbook also. Thank you. Have a nice day.